Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Philadelphia. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth. I've got the Pro Tour historian Brian David Marshall. I've got Pro Tour Hall of Famer Ben Stark in the booth with me, and we are underway. Reed Duke versus Frank Skaren. Two Grand Prix champions facing off in the finals here. We're looking to see a control side from Reed and a little bit more on the aggressive beatdown side from Frank in the early stages here. Ben, Reed Duke's deck, a nice control deck for this format.
Very powerful. Very powerful deck.
Thank you, Ben. Brian, that's the first time you've ever given me a one or two word answer to anything I've ever talked to you about in our whole life. Well, and you save it for the finals.
You know, we've seen his deck now a couple of times. We've been talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it is extremely powerful.
Now, is this his best three-drop, the best possible turn 3 play for him? Has to be Courser of Crewfish.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And the other best possible turn 3 play
Oh,
for
look
him?
at this main deck, Unravel the Ether.
Yeah, I was going to say the fact that Frank didn't make a 2-drop is pretty huge for Reed. But now that he's able to kill his 3 end a turn, if he can untap and make a 3-drop, he kind of like retakes over, you know, on the tempo
right.
side.
Yeah, Reed Duke actually got no extra value out of that. It was just a straight 1-for-1.
Right.
What is Frank Skaren's deck trying to do, BDM?
He's green-blue. He's got Agent of Horizons. He's got Swordwise Centaurs.
Okay.
You know, just like some a couple of green heroic creatures, the Staunch Heart Warriors, the Setessan Oathsworn.
Okay.
And honestly, he's just looking to bash the heck out of you with 2 Aspect of Hydra to end the game. He's really looking for like green fireball.
Okay. Well, this is a reasonable play. You know, you mentioned this a second ago, Ben. He now gets to add to his board, make a 3/3. Nessian Courser, I love that card. It just asks nothing of you. You just play it. It does good stuff. And now it's back on Reed to try to find a way to get through. You know, these Nessian Coursers are going to match up well against Reed's either trio. We don't know exactly. I can't remember how many he has of
Disciple of Phoenix, but he's got a lot.
Yeah, he's got a lot, and the Nessian Courser matches up nicely against that.
Yeah, and Mogus Marauder, not good against Nessian Courser either.
Right. And, you know,
but I imagine a lot of times Reed's putting that out there to just increase his devotion count so that he gets to look at more cards in hand or drain more with his Gray Merchants.
And I think he's really putting it out in general just to be a speed bump, to be able to, you know, trade off with a 2-drop or a 3-drop.
Sure.
Yeah,
so
trades with a Swordwise Centaur is fine.
But I think that it's pretty bad for Reed when he's the control deck and his 3-drop can't interact with his opponent's 3-drop.
That is bad. All right, now this is looking a little bit better for Reed here, though. He plays Disciple of Phoenix. Now, Frank wouldn't play something like a Stymied Hopes in his deck, would he?
Well, doesn't Reed have one open anyway?
Yeah, I'm just saying he's playing it on turn 5. He might have had it last turn. You know,
I doubt that.
Okay, you think he just drew it?
No, I think last turn he didn't want to only see 2 cards, knowing that Frank might just have 2 land to show.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I was saying when I was talking about.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah,
He's leading with the Marauders.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying I had him on it.
he does have a Stymied Hope in his sideboard, and I think he brought it in the quarterfinals, though.
Well,
maybe Reed was walking by when he played it, you know?
He almost certainly should bring it against Reed. I mean, Reed's deck has a lot of casting costs.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of 5-drops in this deck. And, wow, another nice one here. For Frank, it didn't look like he was going to get a chance to use up his mana that turn, but in fact he had Horizon Chimera hiding in his hand. He's going to gain a life off of that draw step and keep this pressure flowing. He can hit Reed Duke for 6 here potentially.
Right, and we know he has a Voyage's End to protect that Chimera from Reed's removal. We don't know if Reed has a Nessian Asp or not.
That's the big question, and of course the Voyage's End does a nice job at keeping that Asp at bay at least for a turn, but that's got to be backed up by some pretty serious pressure from Frank Skaren, or else it's not really going to do the job.
Right.
And it's two Asps for Reed Duke, right?
That's right. 2 Asps, 2 Gray Merchants, 1 Keepsake Organ. His 5-drops are absurd.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So another nice tempo play here for Frank Skaren, as he's going to battle for potentially 8 here. Yeah. I mean, and if it's not 8, then Reed's chump blocking.
Right.
This is a lot of pressure from Frank. Also, 5 in the air for the rest of the game. Reed's got a lot of work to do, especially with that Voyage's End hanging around.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely picture Reed being able to beat this, though. I mean, if Reed has Sip of Hemlock or Lash of the Web, you know, he's through that Horizon Chimera. You know, I mean, he can double block the 3/3. I know there's a Voyage's End, but you know, those creatures aren't that meaningful to Reed.
Right.
And then he can just play something big.
Sure.
So, like you said, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's manageable. You know what I mean? His back isn't to the wall. He's just gonna have to show us the answers now. You know what I mean? He's gonna have to show us the Sip or show us the Lash.
Preserves his life total, puts the Disciple in the way.
Yeah, he just chump blocks with the Disciple to save 3 damage here. And he's hit
That
6. Is
smells
this
like-
Sip of Hemlock?
yeah.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
No.
No, it's
that-
Erebos' Emissary that's going to get bestowed upon Mogus's Marauder.
That doesn't give a reach.
That does not give it reach. It can make it, I mean, it's a 5/5 now, so it does take care of that Nessian Courser, but
But it needs
Uh-oh.
reach.
But maybe.
Well, what did Frank draw?
wow, he drew Nimbus Naiad, and he's attacking for 11 here?
Yeah, I think that really
I
it's
think it's
10.
just
but
10, yeah.
but
It's
that-
10, excuse
yeah,
me.
But I'm not even sure that Reed has a draw now. I think that pretty much does it.
How many creatures does he need to discard here?
I mean,
Uh,
5, 7.
So more than he has in his deck.
Right. And that's going to do it. Frank Scarron, you can look at him. You see him look
Yeah.
up a little bit like, okay, we got one against Reed.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that easy going forward. But that was really interesting. You know, the turn 3 Courser, I was like, is this over?
Yeah.
Like, you know, but boom, the answer was there, and that was it. Let's take a look at our upcoming webcast schedule in the next coming months here. Grand Prix Minneapolis is modern, May 10th and 11th, same exact weekend as Grand Prix Warsaw, where Rich Hagan and the rest of our European coverage team, we're going to be bringing you a limited GP there. Theros, Born of the Gods Sealed.
Modern's going to have a theme. I mean, Minneapolis is going to have a theme.
What is it?
Desperation.
Oh, yeah, that's the last one,
there
right?
are a lot of players who are scrambling
Yes.
to get a top 8, a top 16, whatever they need to get to their silver, to their gold, to get an invite to Atlanta. And so that's their last stop for pro points.
I'm just picturing Joe
before Pro Tour
Demestrio right
Atlanta.
now.
Yeah.
Joe Demestrio, Alex Magleton needs a
Uh-huh.
top 8 if he wants to get qualified for Atlanta. You know, Modern, he's done pretty well in that format. So
Kind of his format,
Yeah.
affinity, right?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Pro Tour Journey into Nyx, the PT. It's in Atlanta, and it's Theros Block Constructed, and of course Booster Draft. That's
what-
May 16th through 18th.
What day did you qualify to play on May 16th? Oh, on May 11th.
Yeah, May 11th. Booked my ticket. And then GP Atlanta is the following weekend. That one's a limited event, so Theros sealed and,
So
and
really
draft
excited
again.
to see that.
That's full block,
Yeah.
right? So that'll
Excited to see
be
what those sealed decks look like.
that'll be the whole thing, May 24th and 25th. Grand Prix Manchester, back on the other side of the pond there, Theros Block Constructed, May 31st through June 1st. And then Grand Prix Moscow, it's interesting, standard June 14th and 15th. The next weekend after that is GP Chicago, another standard event there, the first week of summer in June.
We're all crashing at Rashad's.
In Moscow or in Chicago?
Yes. We'll just fly back on Wednesday.
It's funny because you say that, you know, when you weren't in the booth, I actually asked I said, is that like in Chicago? Because for that exact
Yeah,
reason.
it's-
And he said it's Chicago-ish.
Yeah.
So close enough. We're crashing at Rashad.
Much like Chicago pizza is pizza-ish.
Oh, wow. I did not say that.
No, you didn't. I did. I own
You
it.
have to own that one. You're the guy from New York. I don't get in the pizza fight between you two. That's just too much bad blood
Why's my
there.
Twitter
I'm the
going
same way.
off
I'm
like
from
crazy?
South Florida. Our food is
Serious
terrible.
pie.
We don't make any claims to have good food in Florida.
You don't have to enter that fight.
No.
You just stand on the sideline and watch. Yeah.
People in Florida just lament the food from their ancestral homeland of New
Yeah.
York.
It's true.
All right, looks like we're underway here for Game 2 of our finals. Frank Scarron convincingly takes Game 1 against Reed Duke, and do we have keeps?
Last game, I think Frank mulliganed, but then he had a really good draw.
He did.
for the rest of the game.
main deck Unravel the Ether.
That
Yeah.
was a beating against Reed that game. I mean, things can get out of hand pretty quickly with Courser of Crewfix, but instantly took it away.
And if Reed had had one of his 2 Sips or Lash there to take care of that Horizon Chimera, that might have been a whole different game.
Absolutely. All right, and here's not an amazing turn 2 play from Reed, but it certainly gets in the way of the most likely turn 2 play from Frank, which is the Swordwise Centaur. Now, he doesn't have that this time, though.
I think he's going to have a Vaporkin.
A Vaporkin. All right, so Vaporkin is going to be able to apply pressure through that Nyxborn Eidolon and start chipping away at Reed's life total before he can get things like Nessie and Asp online.
Reed gets the chip first here.
He does, and he's
Yeah.
going to chip hard, too. So this is 4 damage. Now, Reed's deck isn't really designed to do this, but yeah,
But it's doing it.
make a fight of it here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, your draw determines, you know, the game more than, you know, the role you have envisioned in your head.
Right.
Obviously, Reed has a lot of expensive cards, so he's not planning on curving out and then draining out with Gray Merchants. But this game could go that way.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Now, what do we have here?
Looks like a land.
I think he's
scuffle.
gonna. I think he has a land drop.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna find one here. I saw an island in his hand too, And there's another one just in case of forest this time.
Well, that's about perfect.
Yep.
Mill away a couple of lands and a fairly weak draw.
Yep. Now he's going to play the island or the forest. He's going to play the forest.
Yeah.
Keep that little bit of information held back. But that Satyr Wayfinder is going to do work here. It actually just trades for the Eidolon and kind of blunts a lot of the attacks that Reed has as a
Right. I mean,
result.
with the devotion to black, you know, I doubt that Reed's going to offer that trade. Reed will probably attack with only the Mogus.
Yeah.
But what we
But I mean, it's holding
As
it
if on
back.
cue.
Yeah.
well, what we obviously noticed, and everyone notices, is Reed only has 4 swamps,
That's
no
right.
forests.
Exactly.
Have you seen Reed's hand at all?
No, he reads an upright hand holder.
Right.
Yeah. You're close to that.
Yeah.
We'll get you
Good.
trained up.
No, I'm glad I hide it from you guys.
What a troll. All right, so are we going to see anything here from Reed? Nothing?
No, I don't think he can really have anything. He doesn't have a Farika's Cure in his
He doesn't
deck.
have Farika's Cure,
No.
so no instance that costs
No.
black.
Yeah, the only thing he would have really had there is a Disciple.
Yeah, on his turn.
Yeah.
He's already passed the turn back. And here's a Fate Foretold on the Wayfinder. You know, there's always an interesting decision there because sometimes you put it on your creature that actually matters because you figure, well, if they have to spend a card to kill it, I'll get the card back. And
Yeah.
sometimes you spend it on the card that's going to die no matter
Right.
what. And in this case, that's what Frank does.
Yeah, well, I mean, do they know each other's deck lists or no?
I don't believe they've received each other's full deck
That does
lists.
make a
Okay.
huge difference because, yeah, Frank just couldn't take the chance on
That's
the Farika's
exactly what
Cure.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If he doesn't know that Reed doesn't have Farika's Cure, I mean, how ridiculous does he feel when he Fate Foretold that Vapor King
Yeah,
is cured, you know?
exactly.
He's happy enough to just turn it in a draw 2 here.
All right, we're going to see an aspect of
Or
Hydra.
better.
Does that just make it a trade, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he still gets a card.
Yeah. So he just buys back his aspect of Hydra here, basically. He got, you know, the Wayfinder was free-ish.
And this
Yeah.
is what we're talking about with knowing your roles.
It was free-ish. The Fate Foretold was free-ish.
Yes.
Frank may not know Reed's list, but he does know that he's the aggro deck. So he wants to dig aggressively, not wait around, and try
Yes.
and punish Reed before he finds that forest and starts playing Nessianaths.
Right. And not
There's-
only that forest, also just that 5th land,
Well,
right?
there's an Opaline Unicorn
Right,
that's hoping to fill both those roles.
That's right. I wonder if Frank has a way to, I mean, would he kill that
Oh, I'm
unicorn?
sure he would kill an Opaline Unicorn if he can.
Right.
He probably can't. There aren't that
Probably
many
can't.
ways
Yeah.
for blue-green.
All right, Staunch-Hearted Warrior is going to have to be it for Frank Skarn, though not bad. I mean, you know, that thing's one target away from getting very, very big.
If Frank had a card in his hand right now that read 5 mana, destroy target creature, I wouldn't be surprised if he had tapped 5 and killed Opaline Unicorn. with
Okay,
it.
yeah. Nyxborn Eidolon rumbles into the red zone. Potentially offering a trade, though, if there's a second aspect of Hydra floating around.
Offering to trade with either the Staunch-Hearted Warrior or a Trek in
Mm-hmm.
Frank's hand.
Well, if he has a trick, it's almost eating it because the Staunch-Heart Warrior is going to keep the bonus.
Sure.
All right, it is an aspect, and Frank says, you know what, I don't think he got it. He's like, he just doesn't have a reason to believe that Reed has a
Lash.
Farika's Cure.
Well, he doesn't. Clearly, Reed doesn't have a cure because that Vapor King would not
Yeah,
be
but
around.
there's the
But
Lash.
there's the Lash that Reed could have.
So that's actually just a savage beating, right? I mean, that's a 2-for-1.
It's a
right?
pure 2-for-1.
Jeez, you don't sound that excited about
Well,
it. When
I
I
don't-
get a pure 2-for-1, I fist pump, man. That's what I live for.
The thing is, there wasn't going to be that much value on the ground, I don't feel like, now that Reed has 5 mana. I feel like Frank's okay with that, mostly because it doesn't kill Vaporkin, and maybe he's more interested in his evasion creatures now, like,
Okay.
like Agent of
Absolutely.
Horizons, Vaporkin, or Nimbus Naiad on something, you know. I think that's where he wants to take the fight.
Gotcha. So not happy, but not devastated about it either.
Sure, I mean, he'd prefer if he didn't have the Lash there.
Sure.
But I think he was willing to risk the Lash because I don't think he was too concerned about the ground battle moving forward now that Reed has 5 land and clearly a bunch of spells in hand because he was missing land
Missing
drops.
drops, right.
Yeah.
All right, so Nessian Courser here for Frank Skarn. And let's see what Reed comes up with. He finds a forest as well. And there's a Keepsake Gorgon. That's one of his great 5-drops.
Yeah. One of many.
One of
Yeah.
many great 5-drops that he has in his deck. He really does have the premium stuff at the 5-mana slot for his colors.
It looks like there's a Nimbus Naiad in hand for Frank Skarn, so he can get in here, fly his
Yeah, you're right.
Centaur over,
And this is
get in
a
for 7.
attack for 7.
Yeah, and pretty much no matter how this game shaped out, Lash was going to be good. So I think Frank felt like, okay, you know what? It gets in 2 more damage with the Vaporkin, and it doesn't interact with the Flyer this way. So let me go ahead and, you know, see if he has it here. Because maybe he doesn't have it also.
Sure.
And then I've just got this giant Staunch-Hearted Warrior now. Nimbus Naiad up that bad boy and hit for 8.
Yes, exactly.
Hatred you.
Yeah.
All right, so Reed Duke up against it here. he needs to hit a land drop in order to have access to Monstrous's Keepsake Gorgon here.
And even that's sort of just kind of a finger in the dam.
Yeah, it is. He can basically make it so he doesn't take a hit, though I will say, there is Crypsis floating around too. I don't know if Frank has one, but that could just be the game too. I mean, there's a lot of ways that this can go horribly awry for Reed Duke.
Nessie and Asp isn't enough here, so clearly Reed needs to play the land. If he takes out the Courser and falls to 3, he can play Nessie and Asp and stabilize.
Oh,
okay, now this is an interesting one.
Fade into Antiquity.
Yeah, Fade into Antiquity takes it down and brings that Nessie and Courser back down to the forest floor where it belongs.
Right, and that's a really good one for Reed to have, because the problem was going to be if he sipped the Nessie and Courser or whatnot, the Naiad was still going to be in play, and Reed's at a precarious 5 life.
Right.
Now the Naiad is completely dealt with,
right.
So like he doesn't have to deal with a flyer twice, only once.
So next turn, the idea, I mean, one of the really nice plays for Reed is just to draw land, Monstrous his guy, and just kill Vaporkin.
Yeah, or just lay Nessie and Asp. I mean,
or draw a Gray Merchant.
Yeah, or play a Gray Merchant and get a bunch of life back. Yeah, Reed is right back in this now.
Okay, this is going to be interesting to see if Frank Skarn can keep some type of pressure in the air beyond just the Vaporkin. I mean, he has Reed Duke pinned down, but Reed has tons of options here as far as getting himself out of it. This is going to be close.
Something's getting bestowed here.
Yeah, it feels like he's pondering like maybe a Noble Quarry or something. I mean, if it's a Leaf Crown.
I think it's a Leaf Crown.
It could be Leaf Crown Dryad.
So he's thinking like, this isn't good. Oh, I see. Yeah, which one to put it on is an interesting decision.
Because you can actually just force the block.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
I think I like this decision. I mean, I guess it's lethal if he doesn't draw a land. But if you make that trade, the Vaporkin's still out. Oh, he has Noble Quarry too.
That's an interesting one. Now
so we were both right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. And Noble Quarry.
Well, I know his list. I didn't know it was in his hand, but I like that play a lot more now. I was thinking before the Noble Quarry that I would have probably put the Leaf Crown on the Courser and just forced the trade. But now that I know he has Noble Quarry, putting him to 1 is beautiful.
It is. So this is a huge issue now for Reed because he needs to deal with the Noble Quarry. He also needs to deal with the Vaporkin. I mean, is there a way he can deal with both in one turn? He doesn't have any time to do it.
I don't know. I mean, Reed's deck is very good at doing a lot of things, but not 2 things in 1 turn.
Yes.
That's not its specialty.
That is not the name of the game.
Does Gray Merchant keep him alive?
Gray Merchant would gain him 4 life and put him back up to
gain
5.
5
life, yeah.
You get him to 6, but that's not going to be enough.
That's not enough, right?
No.
No, I don't.
Everything blocks a Noble Quarry, and
I
can't
think
attack you for 7.
Are we about to see Frank Skarn pick up his second GP win here?
I think we are. Unless Reed boarded in some cheap green instant, that we hadn't seen, if he had Unravel or something like that. I mean, that could be a blowout. But if he doesn't have something cheap that allows him to do 2 things here, I think he's dead.
Okay.
I mean, just activating the Keepsake Gorgon can't keep Reed alive, right?
No.
If he kills a Noble Quarry, he dies to the Flyer. If he kills the Flyer, he dies to the Nessie and Courser.
He's got to do 2 things.
He's got to do 2 things.
Reed Duke is thinking it over, but
can you see his hand? Does he have 2 things?
I think he maybe has.
Doesn't look like it. Is that a Lash and a Sip or something?
I think it's a Lash, a Sip, and maybe like a Disciple.
No,
that's going to do it. Frank Skarn is our champion here, to the applause of his supporters over there as well.
Joe Demestrio's working with him. Chris Fennell's working with him. We said Joe Pinocchio, so he's got a big crowd.
Apparently breaking the feature match.
Yeah, I think maybe